So the reason you clicked on this video is to see about how to make your own camber, extended camber arm for your rear camber for a lowered Crossfire or Mercedes SLK. So I'm going to take a look at what we have here. I lowered this vehicle 1.5 inches in the back, and it gave me this crazy camber where it's in at the top. And what I did is I went over to Harbor Freight and picked up one of these, what you call it, an angle, 90-degree angle. So I put it up here to the wheel to see where I'm at. And as you can see here, it looks like I'm pretty far away at the top. So what I need to do is make my camber arm, bring that top of the wheel out. And we're going to go through this here today and see what happens. I just pulled the wheel off, and this is the kind of tire where I'm getting on the inside of the tire there with that negative camber. So got my trusty measuring device here just to kind of get an idea what's going on, and it looks like about 5 millimeter on the outside, and I put it here and it looks like about 2 millimeter left on the inside. Also, I just kind of noticed I got a nail in my tire here. Guess I'll have to get that taken care of. So there is the star of the video right there. That is the upper camber arm and the rear suspension. And what we have here is that curve, so that way it'll clear that sway bar right there. There's other kits available that are being sold for up to $300 for the pair, but what they are is they're straight, and that's fine for a car that hasn't been lowered. But the problem that they're having is contact between those two pieces, and eventually they break. So what we're going to do is we're going to build something that keeps that curve in the arm, so that way it clears that sway bar. So that way we don't have that problem. What I've done here is I've simulated all the right height dimensions with the wheel removed. And so what I did is I took the measurement off the other side of the car. The bottom stud that you see there was 11 inches on the other side. So what I did is I jacked up the car to right height, and then jacked up the rear suspension to meet that 11 inch. So that way I can now take all my measurements, see what I got to do. So this is what we got going on here. There's the upper control arm, and I can see that there are a couple rub marks on the top there, just ahead of those yellow lines. So I'm going to make sure I get rid of that, so that way I don't have that problem during this modification. With my final adjustments, I'm going to be using this T-square here to line up that wheel, so that way I don't have that gap anymore on this upper side right there. If you can see that right there, I have that gap right there. So we're going to close that gap with the final adjustments before the wheel goes back on. Okay, here I have the arm cleaned up, and I got my parts bags here that I ordered. Let's take a look inside and see what we got. Okay, looks like I've got a couple bungs. So you got some nuts, bag, got my ends. Okay, so I'm gonna go out with the old and in with the new, something like that. And this is what it looks like assembled. So we've got a lefty tighty and a righty tighty. So you heard me right. One is left hand turn and one is right hand turn. So I got one for each side of the car. So now it's going under the knife. Got it all marked out here, and here we go. So this is the cut that I ended up with, and this is going to fit in there about like that. That's what I'm going to end up with. Let's go ahead and put it together. What I did here earlier is I drew out a pattern around the original camber arm and with the holes, so that way I'd know where I'm at when I go to make my new one. So I'm going to match up these holes right here, put the screws in the holes, so you can see that it's actually going to give me more clearance on the sway bar because I have a sharper angle now. I cut out this brace here because I tend to overkill things. I took some of this 1/4 inch steel here that I had and made this little brace. And what it's going to do, it's going to fit right inside here, because the metal that they used to make this part doesn't look like it's a very strong metal. So what I did is I'm making this brace here, and I'm going to weld into place there and make it a lot stronger. I'll feel a lot more comfortable this way. Now I have confidence. I don't think anything's going to happen with this. So I'll clean it up, put some paint on it, and put it back together. Okay, I got her all cleaned up on the wire brush. Let's paint her up. I'll give it a little special color here. That way it looks like we did something to the car. Hey, check this out. That's the finished part. Get it ready to put on the car. Do some adjusting. And see if I could save my $500 tire. Okay, so I got her back in. And you can see I got plenty of clearance between that sway bar and our camber arm. I'm not worried now. Okay guys, this is it. I'm so excited. This is the moment of truth. I put the square up to the wheel now. Got it all adjusted up and it is square. You can see right there. Doesn't move, it's level on the floor. Next, I'll put the wheel on and check that out. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. I put the wheel back on, put the car back on the ground, and what I got is I have about an eighth of, oh, maybe 3/16 of an inch between the angle here and the wheel. It's flush on the bottom, it's flat on the bottom, and here I got about maybe 3/16 of an inch. It's not quite a quarter of an inch here. So something else that I think I've discovered here is when the top of the wheel comes out, the front of the wheel right here goes in a little bit, so it might be like a toe in at the front of this wheel. So I'm gonna take it to the alignment shop, see what they got to say about that. See, because there's no adjustment on those other arms, just like what we started out with, the problem that we started out with. So next time I'm probably gonna do some kind of a edit to the description later on to see what the alignment shop says. So I was really excited there for a second, but then I'm realizing that it's opening up another can of worms. Something that nobody else has mentioned, I haven't seen it anywhere, that says that when you bring the top of this tire out, that it'll also push the front of that tire in, I guess, which brings the back of this tire out. When we're looking at the front, that's the front of the car right there. So okay, let's see what happens. From what I understand is that there has to be a little bit of a negative camber in that it's not supposed to be perfectly flat on the ground. So gotta take that into account and see if that's true or not true once I get the wheel alignment. Okay, to do a comparison on the driver's side and the passenger side, this is the driver's side. So what I'm measuring here is about a quarter of an inch from the top of the rim. I'm going to go over to the passenger side and measure that one up. Okay, this is the measurement on the passenger side. It's measuring about 3/4 of an inch. So there's about a 1/2 inch difference at the top of the wheel.